Hey, everybody out there in YouTube land. Jake of the OneManBand is back again. And isn't RWBY just awesome? Despite the letdown that was parts of Volume 4, RWBY as a series has been pretty solid. It's given us good characters, awesome fights, and a story that people can get into. But with how big RWBY is, there is a divide between some of its fans. And I'm not talking about the divide that is ships or OC characters. I'm talking about the divide where people think that the fighting should be more prominent rather than the story. Some of the fans of RWBY think that RWBY itself should be more like Monty Oom's previous series, Dead Fantasy, or even the standalone video, Haloid, where it was a video of non-stop fighting action that took a long time to animate and is beautifully animated, giving us some fights between some of our favorite characters from Metroid, Halo, Dead or Alive, and Final Fantasy. And then there's the other side of the spectrum, where fans believe that the story should be the forefront of the series, due to the fact that it's a series following a group of characters as they go on adventures. And you see, my friends, I'm in the latter group. I believe that story should be the more important part of RWBY. Why do you ask? Why do I think that the story should be more important when the fight scenes are just so epic? Well, it's the point that RWBY is a series. If RWBY was just a set of standalone videos all flung together with the pretty much same ideas and parameters, then it would be okay if it was just a giant fight fest like Dead Fantasy. Yet, RWBY is a series that follows a scheduled volume release and has set episodes in said volumes, which means that it can't just be non-stop fighting. If there's non-stop fighting in RWBY, we wouldn't get any sort of depth into any form of story or characters. We wouldn't know what any of the girls were like, we wouldn't know what the villains were up to, and we wouldn't really have been introduced to any of the side characters. And you see, this whole argument brings up a whole new idea on how a series should be structured and how things should be divided. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that fights in RWBY should be taken out or dialed down any. They're definitely good. Fighting in RWBY is one of its main staples, but it shouldn't be the staple that it stands on. You see, there has to be a balance between these two ideas. There needs to be a balance between story and fun. Story is character development, world building, and plot. And that makes up the story bit. That should be the bit that is the most numerous. The stuff that we see the most and experience the most. And fun, on the other hand, the other side of the coin, is the comedy part of RWBY, and of course, the fighting. RWBY isn't set out to truly be a serious series all the time. It wants its fans to have fun and be able to enjoy watching the show, and that's where the fights come in. We enjoy watching the huntsmen and the villains do flip-de-doos and attack each other. We like to see the creatures of Grimm shot and cut down. That's one of the big staples of the show, and one of the main reasons RWBY is so popular. Yet, without a strong story to accompany said fights, there wouldn't be much of a reason to make this into a series. It would just be a bunch of standalone videos where you would watch a few minutes of non-stop action, but then after that, it'd really be nothing. So for everyone who's thinking that the fighting should be the most important part of RWBY and should take the forefront of the entire series, I have to tell you that that just can't be the case. Without a centralized story and without breathing room between fights, we would grow bored of the fights. The fights would happen too often and just be too over the top that we wouldn't really get a break from them. We wouldn't have a chance to accept and love the fight for what it is. We would just be too busy critiquing the fight and saying how lackluster it was. As I said, there needs to be a balance between both the fun of RWBY and the story of RWBY. And for this, I like to make an analogy to a cake. Think of the series of RWBY as a nice chocolate cake. We have the cake portion, the spongy, soft, nice, just gloriously flavored chocolate cake part. That's the story. It's the most important part of the cake and the most numerous part of the cake. It makes up the most of it. And you see, it needs to be a perfect blend of sponginess, moistness, and of course the flavor of cake. That comes into, it needs to have plot, good character development, and good world building. If there's a little bit too much of one, then the cake itself is out of balance. On the other hand, the fun part of RWBY, the comedy and the fighting, is the frosting and the filling. If you want to put filling in your cake. It's not as numerous as the actual cake, but it's the best part. Yet, if you have way too much frosting or way too much filling, then the cake becomes too sweet and almost unedible. Now, I don't know about you, but I prefer my cakes to have a good layer of cake. I love cake for the cake itself, but frosting makes it better. But there can't be too much or else it's entirely ruined. There needs to be a balance between both story and fun. There needs to be a balance between plot and fighting. And here's something else for all those people that I still haven't convinced. If RWBY was nothing but fighting, well, we wouldn't have our precious ships now, would we? Not really. But hey, those are just my thoughts, and the real question is, what do you guys think? Hey everybody out there in YouTube land, I know this video was kind of different than what I normally do. I was actually addressing a serious issue, and this issue's been on my mind for a while, and I just kind of wanted to get my views and opinion out there for people to see. So, guaranteed, next video, next RWBY review is going to be more centered around the actual series itself and the story and the characters and all that. So don't worry, I'm gonna be going back to doing all those crazy theories you guys like. But hey, if you liked this video, be sure to like and favorite if you did, subscribe if you feel inclined to, for more RWBY related content coming your way, and until next time, my friends, I want you to be a good person, tip your waitresses, keep moving forward, follow the links down in the description taking you to social media pages, my Patreon, big thanks to my Patreon sponsors, and of course to other videos that I've done. So until next time, my friends, I'll see you next time I'm out there in YouTube land. I'll see you then.